Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. We're so excited to be here. Thanks, McShane. Yes, thank you. So I'm Vanessa. I'm part of the Damas team. I started using Nostr just inadvertently because I had to, I guess, given where I live at Damas headquarters. So Will is my partner, and he started working on it, I guess, 2 years ago. But I started in December when I heard that there was some buzz happening. But now I'm here, and I'm here to stay, and I'm pretty involved in everything that goes on. And I'm happy to have my sidekick here today.
Good morning, Vanessa.
Good morning.
GM, Nostr, #coffee chain. I hope you all hope you're having a good morning. My name is Jeroen. I heard about Nostr first last in December when listening to an interview by Preston Pish talking to Will. I generated my first key pair using astral.ninja, which was a very rough user experience. I only started...
Say how you really feel.
Sorry?
I said, say how you really feel about it.
That's how I really feel about it, yeah. I'm sorry. I only started using it daily in February using Amethyst. And right now I am using Damas. 2 months ago I started...
Most of the time, right?
Most of the time, yeah. 2 months ago I started working with Will and Vanessa. I had to do an internship for my degree, and they were grateful enough to have me.
We're grateful to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're here this morning, bright and early, to talk about what we like to call Unmarketing stir. Nope. Yes, so we're here at an unconference. Marketing on Nostr is not traditional, as is the protocol and the clients and everything about it. It's difficult to market something that is almost unmarketable, right? We don't have ads in the app, we can't use any of the traditional methods, and the budgets are nowhere near what a traditional company would be using. So we've explored some really interesting ways to unmarket Nostr over the past couple months, and we're excited to share some of those and also get your feedback on some ways we can continue to build in this way.
Okay, so this was the mission we put for ourselves. Obviously, we have a lot of work to do.
Basically, what we want to do is grow the network, and it's going to take time, but we think it's possible. Look at the room here. It's pretty much packed. We've got lots of people at home watching. So the plan is to grow this as large as we can. And the more people that start to use it, hopefully they'll want to stay. And that's the basic, simple message that we want to get across.
So, marketing. What I learned about marketing after all my classes, the thing that stuck with me, is that it's only really about communicating value. It's not about paid ads, necessarily. It's not about making the best ad or telling the best story. It's telling the real story. So, what pain are you solving in people's lives? What painkiller are you applying? And the why. Why are you building? What pain did you experience yourself, or maybe your family members? What are you trying to improve in the world and people's lives? That's why we do it.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is a bit of a retrospective on the last, what feels like very short, 6 to 8 months, basically. So we have a bit of a timeline here, and this is, again, going back to unmarketing. These are some of the things that not only the Damas team, but other team members and people in the community have been doing to essentially market this protocol. And a lot of it's organic, and a lot of it has been, we've benefited from some really amazing people that have helped us out. One of them happens to be here, and he's the first that I mentioned here. So obviously people like Jack, and not just him, Edward Snowden and people like that who mention and talk about Nostr have really catapulted it in waves over the last year or so, less than a year. And then for the Damas team, when we launched in February on the App Store, super exciting. Again, some input from different people and talking about it on the other network and different places. And then things like getting banned in China really does help with our marketing. So that turned out to be obviously difficult, but also gave us a lot of media attention. So things like this that have happened, especially over the last 6 months, I guess, anytime there's something that happens either on Nostr or on X, right, that gives us extra attention. And what we've tried to do is capitalize on that attention. So, you know, when we were in Oslo, funny enough, at the Freedom Forum, trying to speak about free money and free speech, we had an issue with the Apple Store where they tried to remove us based on the ZAP protocol. So that, though, led us to lots of media interviews. So our user base grew based on that difficulty that we experienced. The live events like this, you know, McShane mentioned, getting people onboarded live is so effective. We were in Bali recently. Rhea's in the audience, did a great job with that conference. And we found that people download the apps, they like them, but they're not really sure how to use them. And so that's difficult. The education piece is so important. So the live events, super important for us. Podcasts, so many great people in this audience have done amazing podcasts the last year. And then anytime there's new features or development happening in this community, obviously that, again, gives us more and more attention and more users downloading.
Now, over the last couple months, we've been lucky enough to see different communities develop. See a couple of them here. Now, for this conference, we were invited by the Japanese people. We are very grateful to be welcomed here. The last week, I had the opportunity to meet them in person, one-on-one and in groups. We shared food together and drinks. I got to meet them in person. Maybe people don't know this, but they use Nostr very differently than from how we do it. They do not use replies on notes. They rarely mention each other. They use Nostr more like a chat room. There's about 240 daily active users in Japan, and they're just doing their own thing. They know one another. They have maybe a couple overlapping circles, but they just talk to each other directly. They talk about the most simple things in life. They talk about their ride on the subway, how their breakfast was. Yesterday evening, I overlooked them chatting about who was going to be present this early on for the conference. I remember a note saying, "It will be rough being there at 8:30, but if I feel unwell, I will go outside and have a walk."
Good advice.
Yeah. So, they're really incredible people, and if you're here, they're here in the audience, and I would ask you to make time to get to know them, try to connect with them. We can all learn a lot from them.
Absolutely. We've taken a lot of notes, even just the last couple of days we've been here, because as Jeroen said, everybody in different communities uses this in a different way, and it's all amazing, and we want to hear from people. So we're here as well, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, to learn from you and to learn from people at home as well. So I know that there's a stream coming in and questions and all of that, so we're excited to answer those.
Now, every type of user values something different in Nostr. We've been talking to a lot of different people. Now, of course, we all like to talk about technical aspects of the protocol, the decentralization, the encryption, censorship resistance. But I think we can all agree that this does not really resonate with 95% of the population. Like, the average person is not a programmer. They will not care about this. So there's a choice. Do we focus early on the technically proficient people, on the Bitcoiners, like we've already naturally done, right? Most of our marketing efforts, they go towards Bitcoin conferences. We talk about the technical stuff, and that resonates. We see the result in downloads, so this is working. But what message do we tell to the average person? What do they care about? How do we purple pill the average person?
This costume is helping, I think.
I hope so, yes.
Yeah.
So that is something we would like to figure out. The people I've been talking to, the average person usually gets into Nostr because of a Jack tweet, and they stay around because of the people they meet, the people, the content, the interaction, and the connection, not necessarily because of the protocol, just because people are nice. And from what I've been able to find out is that people do care about no ads. But all other things here, they take a while to explain. It's difficult to explain. And we would like to find out a better message.
We're going to add to this list, hopefully, by the end of the conference.
There's a lot more.
Yes. So we wanted to do a little bit of a story time, and we are going to open it up to the audience for as much time as we can here in a second. But one of the notes, I had to stop myself there. One of the notes that I made a little while back was, why are we still here? But I stopped myself because I think what's more important than, like, why did you get here? All of that is what's keeping you here. So the team, we've been working on, how do we retain people? And wanting to know from this group, I mean, you've come from all over the world. You've made time, taken time out of your work week probably to be here. So why are you still here? What's keeping you on Nostr and using it? So we wanted to, of course, start a hashtag, because that's another unmarketing tactic that we use. So if you want to respond to any of the questions that came out of this presentation, or you want to share some stories, if you can use unmarketing. As I said, I kind of had to use Nostr early on. I was skeptical, I'm not going to lie, because Will's worked on a lot of side projects, and I was like, okay, sure, this sounds fun. But realistically, when I started to look into it and learn myself and really understand what it was about, that's what's kept me here. And then, as Jeroen mentioned, the people you meet here, the community that you're able to build. I mean, we've been traveling a lot lately, and we've met with people that we're seeing again and again in these different places, all different walks of life, all different types of people. And they truly are good people. It's like, what is going on? But it's amazing. So if you have the same experience or not, please let us know. And you wanted to tell a little story too, I think.
I think I already did.
Okay. We can move on. So the other question that we had was around future growth. So we want to hear from you. We have some ideas, which we'll share in a second, but how would you grow Nostr? What unmarketing would you use, or what do you use to get people on Nostr and then staying on Nostr? So again, with limited budgets, we can't do, huge traditional advertising campaigns. We can't do some of the big events that maybe eventually, but for now. So you do have to be a little bit creative. So we'd love to hear from you on marketing in ways that is working for you.
How would you do it?
Well, let me tell you, Jeroen. So we're going to talk about Damus in 2024. Ooh. So Damus Android. But we're not giving any dates.
Soon.
But I learned my lesson with the merch store where people kept asking me when and when. I'm like, soon. But yes, so the team is working on an alternative to iOS, I would say, more than just Android. So that's really exciting because obviously if we're able to market to a larger group, specifically Damus, but also Nostr, bring as many people into Nostr as possible, and then they can use whatever client they want. But it's nice to have the variety. We're working on some new material. When I say that, looking at ways that we could potentially, take advantage of some of the really great, I'll say influencers on Nostr, but really the people that are really proud to be part of the community and who can help us with, tips of the week or some fun content that they can then post elsewhere and have people join Nostr. And what about the last one here? It's
maybe a bit controversial, a paid ads experiment.
Not in the app. Not in the app. No ads in the app.
So Damus will not serve ads, but we feel like it would be a great idea to serve ads for Nostr on other social platforms. Now, of course, at the moment we do not have the budget to do so on a large scale. We don't have the revenue streams to justify that, but we do want to do an experiment to see where the cost of acquisition comes into and see if it's actually a viable method of informing people.
Yeah, because we've seen lately too, and again, not everyone agrees with this, but Nostr is the new Instagram, and even Edward Snowden did kind of allude to that he's seen a lot of content like that. This is refreshing to see on Nostr. So, why couldn't we have more people that enjoy Instagram come over and use Nostr more regularly? So these are some of the things we're looking at. But we want to hear from you. I don't know how much time we have left, but if anybody wants to, you can ask us anything. It doesn't have to be marketing a Nostr. You can ask why he's wearing this costume the day after Halloween, but yes. Oh, questions for us?
There's one.
Yes. Excellent. Don't be shy. I know it's early, but...
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Just regarding your question about how to market Nostr, in my opinion, I think creating good value, like, for example, I'm a Bitcoiner, so I also use the Lightning Network a lot, and I have knowledge on the Lightning Network, so maybe I can create content that other people can see and follow, and if they found it valuable, I will just say, hey, I'm in Nostr, and they will say, what is that? Then I can introduce them to Nostr that way.
Absolutely. That's great. Great advice. I think a lot of people are using that. And, talking about Bitcoiners, obviously, that realistically is the first group that really is using this, beyond the technical people. And there's lots of other groups too, but, we're happy to have the Bitcoiners here, and that's wonderful. But we've even been talking this week, there's lots of Japanese users that are not Bitcoiners. And same when we were in Bali, like outside the conference, it was lots of people that are using Nostr for different reasons. So I think these communities is really exciting to see, and it's about nurturing that content.
Thanks. Hey guys.
Hey.
Well,
Morning.
So I'm just actually wondering why the Japanese choose to use Nostr over, say, any other instant messaging app. What's the core reason that they've chosen to do that?
Most of the users I've spoken to, they use a whole range of different communication apps. Most of them are concerned with the censorship-resistant properties. That's why they also use Nostr.
You'll have to ask them as well. I think that's a really
they are
great
here.
question.
You can ask them yourself, yes.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to have a wonderful dinner with about 15 local Damus users this week, and it was absolutely incredible to learn from them. They brought translators, thankfully, to help us, and we spent 3 hours eating and talking to them. The meal was insane, but yeah, we learned so much. So I do encourage everyone to use the hashtag or talk to them live here while you can.
Yeah, pro tip: if you want to talk to them, you download DeepL and just say whatever you want. It translates it to Japanese.
Yeah, there's been lots of conversation around translation in Nostr, and I think there's even just yesterday, the day before, I think some really good ideas have come forward about ways we can make that easier and available to a lot more people. So that's a really important priority for us.
Any more questions?
Oh, yes. Oh, it's hard to see.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
I know Will has sort of a background in the music industry as well. I'm just curious, what's your experience onboarding artists, musicians, and perhaps what could entice them in the future as well on the platform?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Yeah, Will worked at a record label quite a few years ago called Monster Cat, and way back then he was encouraging the artists to be paid using Lightning and Bitcoin. So he built a kind of a system for payments, which led actually to the Zaps a little bit. So that background is helping in terms of how we would onboard people. We've been speaking to a lot of musicians. There's some really, really great ones probably here today as well that are very interested in how they can use this network. So I think to answer your question more broadly, when we get groups like that, it's important to understand what their pain points are, kind of what Jeroen was saying earlier. So what is it going to take to get them to use Nostr? And, if you look back at some of the other presentations that have happened about Zapvertising, that kind of failed because then we couldn't do Zaps on the post after that. But you still can in other platforms and other clients. But that led us to realize that artists, any type of artists, whether they're YouTubers or filmmakers or musicians, they can really make money using Nostr, and that is a huge benefit. Even if it's a little bit low to start, it's better than a lot of the other alternative ways.
When you're thinking about how you're centering your users, the people you're trying to reach, what are the personas that you're thinking of, and how is that kind of growing the group?
Jeroen just asked me that yesterday. He's like, so where are the personas, Vanessa? We don't have them, but he's working on writing them. That's a good question. You want to
I wrote out a couple off the top of my head. I think the most significant one is, of course, Bitcoiners. Bitcoiners are usually preconditioned to understand the properties of the protocol very quickly. That's why you can inform them very quickly. That's why we also go to all these Bitcoin conferences.
Yeah, I think other personas, though, like, I mean, if you look at some of the groups that are emerging, you know, there's a huge female population that is emerging on the protocol, which is exciting. There's all different kind of sub-communities. So I think adding personas to our, toolkit in terms of how we market is a really good next step, which is why I'm so glad to have our trusty intern who's in business school helping.
Can I ask you a question? Have you done any work on this or written personas out?
Little.
A bit. Okay.
Okay.
Please share.
Yes.
So I've been trying to think a bit out of the box. And the first persona that came to mind is my dad. My dad is in his very early 80s, and he will outlive my mother very shortly. My dad should not be on the internet. Just going to leave that there. Lou, no. And I am worried about him isolating himself. So I'm envisioning a person who is older, who still knows how to use tech, has a smartphone, understands that you can engage with others and find like-minded people and be less alone. And so I'm thinking about how do we reach people where they're looking for community and give them a space where their adult children can feel like I'm not going to have to drag daddy out of like conspiracy land. And I'm less worried about having to be there all the time. So that's one example of trying to think really broadly about how can we have an impact in spaces that we might really not be in.
That's really, really great. I think my mom's a very active Nostr user, and so you can find her at Rosie. But yeah, I think that's fantastic to think about those groups, and I think education is going to be really important with getting anybody onboarded, but specifically if people are non-technical or they're not typically social media users or any of that. So, great point.
Hello. I've been quite concerned about the way the internet's going for quite a long time. It's sort of evolving into a kind of big brother surveillance system. Nostr appears to be an amazing opportunity to kind of change that direction and do something different. I think there's probably a lot of people out there that are quietly worried about the nature of the internet and probably mostly just don't think there's anything that can be done about it. So I'm just wondering how we can get the message across to them that there is this new system that gives us an opportunity for something different.
I think we've talked a lot recently, and Will's talked about this a little bit too, that aha moment. So I think it's about getting people to that stage where they realize that they can't live without Nostr in their lives. So that can happen in a lot of different ways, right? Most of the time, I guess, it's the zaps because, wow, even if it's not on the post, if you get a profile zap where you're able to give zaps to people and make them feel that they've really got value, they're adding value, that could be the moment. Or it could be, you feel free, and that is the moment for you. Or you find another use case for Nostr, not just the social media aspects, right? But maybe you're building on Nostr, and it doesn't have to be programming building. It can be, artists or contributors and stuff like that. So I think it's creating more of those moments for people so that they really don't want to go back. I also got a really good piece of advice from somebody, and I can't pronounce his username, but I did a note about it recently, and he said, just get your friends and family, try as hard as you can, do whatever you can to get them to delete every other social media app for a week. Get them to try it for a week, go cold turkey, and then get them to get the Facebook back, for instance, and try to get them to go back there, and they probably won't if they've done a week. 2 minutes? 2 more questions. Okay. Hey.
So I feel like social media is, you have this opportunity to completely not only compete with older platforms, but also kind of you have the opportunity to reinvent what social media is. And so what are your thoughts on where you are kind of looking into taking Damus and where other clients might be going in terms of reinventing how humans use social media to connect?
Yeah, I mean, I think speaking for Damus, we're always thinking about ways that you can make things better, kinder. So finding tools and finding ways to add things to the app to make it easier, and also to make it easier for people to give back, I guess, within the app. So that for me, that's making it somewhere that I want to be, where I want my son to be. I can't believe, again, I don't know where there's any wood here, but knock on wood, I really have not had any negative interactions, and that's incredible. And so it makes me feel comfortable, for instance, meeting people live like this, bringing Mr. E to places like this, because I know that we're going to be supported. And I know there'll be ups and downs, but for the most part, continue to make the app somewhere that people want to be and feel safe being. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
I've had minor negative experiences, but like this is such a very small fraction of all experiences.
But after this, it's all going to be positive.
Let's hope so, yes.
Be a hero forever.
Yeah.
One more question.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm a big fan of Twitter since 2008, and I'm a big fan of Bitcoin since 2012. And actually, Damus is like a combo of these. Plus, back then, the first time when I met Bitcoin, there was no Lightning solution. But right now we have Lightning, Bitcoin Lightning, so we can pay with sats so instantly. And now we likely talking about the V4V model, value for value model. So maybe Damus is more like the first of its kind to for the mass adoption of Nostr. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think Damus obviously first to use Zaps. I think, I don't know. I know Will came up with Zaps, but it might have been Kieran who implemented it first, actually, on Snort. I don't know. But yeah, so I think we want to continue to build the Damus brand to do mass adoption on Nostr, not just to use Damus, but generally to bring in as many people as we can. And that's why we're doing all of these talks and podcasts and stuff like that, because we do believe that this is a great way to bring people into a great social media protocol that can then grow into more than social media. And certainly Zaps is a great way to do that. And then what we're finding is that the Bitcoiners bring their non-Bitcoiner friends in, they get zapped, and then they have an interest all of a sudden in learning more, right? So I think the Zaps are definitely helping, but I think it's about just continuing to build on what we have as Damus and go from there, which is a nice segue into our final slide. I know we have to move on. So Will kind of gave this away yesterday, and I was a little upset, but it's okay. We have a new website. He already did a note about it. So super, super exciting. I want to call out some people who are here, actually, and I encourage you to talk to them from the team. Roberto, our designer, he's here. Fantastic job in such a short time frame to get a new website rolled out, as well as Daniel, who's a new member of our team working remotely. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here, but he implemented it in so fast. So we're really excited for you guys to take a look at it. It's got all sorts of new features. You can go to our merch store there. You can see where we're going to be. You can see some of the things that we're working on, media appearances, and more importantly, I think we want to see you there. So, we're going to have some ways that you can communicate with us through the website. And I think when we talk about unmarketing, realistically, we still need marketing tools to unmarket something. So things like this are really going to help us to propel forward. Rather than just having people go to the App Store immediately, it will be, hey, here's a place that you can really learn more about Nostr and what it's about. So excited to hear your feedback, and any final words, Nostrich, Jeroen?
Let's have a great day.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much to everybody for being here. Woo!